Fun fact, Australia started off as a penal colony, like they sent prisoners down there, and they also sent misbehaving rabbits down under, and they eventually became kangaroos, and my only source is I made it for real though, y'all don't listen to me. I've been saying kangaroos are just felony convict buddies sentenced to life in Australia. You know what's hilarious? Those are great kangaroos. They're not the biggest ones. Red kangaroos are the max security prison deer of down under. R.I.P. Roger, but he was a 6'7", 200-pound kickboxing marsupial that crushed metal as a hobby. This is one of those animals childhood gaslit you about. It's a hot poppy homicide case that can fold you in several ways. Let's count them. They got claws for grappling. Good luck getting out of them. That toenail sharp enough to slice your stomach open. And the worst part is that tail, because they can stand on it and kick you full force, have your soul asking for divorce. Not to mention, if you follow them into water, they have the tools, knowledge, and intent to drown you. And I have a theory why this kickboxing crash out's like this. See, back in the day, they had to deal with nonsense like the marsupial lion. Basically an over 200-pound predatory wombat on steroids with the strongest bite force of any mammal pound for pound. And Megalania, a Komodo dragon times 3. 23 feet worth of F around and flatline, ain't no finding out. I really think surviving all that gave kangaroos the most irrational confidence on earth. Now you can't tell them nothing. A whole bicep curl encrypted. Fun fact, they show submission by coughing, so if one ever presses you, you have a choice. You can have a coughing fit or fit a coffin.
This 12-year-old child bride is shown kissing her brand new 32-year-old husband in this photo. And the story behind this picture is disturbing. So this is 32-year-old Homer Peel from Tennessee and his 12-year-old bride, Geneva. They got married somehow in the 1930s in Tennessee, but not without controversy. You see, locals in the area protested this marriage, and they were constantly making their thoughts known. I mean, obviously, this is a 12-year-old girl getting married to a 32-year-old man. It blows my mind that disgusting filth like this used to be legal here in America. But unfortunately, that's just history, and it was. So, like I said, in the 1930s, Homer decided to take his child bride down to the courthouse to get married. And get married they did. Now, Geneva's mother didn't know that she was going to the courthouse to get married, and when her mother found out about this, she filed a lawsuit to try to get the marriage annulled, essentially to cancel the marriage. However, the judge said that he wouldn't annul the marriage because, as it turned out, Geneva had been living in a poorhouse with her mother, and the judge decided that her life was better with her 32-year-old husband than with her mother in the poorhouse. So, he just decided not to annul the marriage and sent the child victim back home with her abuser. I mean, this is absolutely disgusting, disturbing shit, but predators and pedophiles aren't a modern thing. And in some cases like this, it used to be legal. Let me know if you thought this was as shocking as I did.
Excuse me, I will call the cops.
This video has been making its way around the internet lately, and the story behind it is so morbid. If you have not been following along, allow me to catch you up. So the woman here in the baseball cap, her name is Katrina McLean, and she's got kind of a dark hobby. No, it's not what you think. She likes to make creepy dolls. Like these kind of dolls. She says she likes to make creations that shock the mind and the soul. So that's not a big deal. I mean, I'm into all kinds of creepy things, so you know, you do you. What did she do that people are all up in arms about? Well, apparently there is a special ingredient to these creepy dolls that Katrina constructs, and the secret ingredient is people. Desecrated remains, to be exact. Allegedly. Katrina, along with 6 other people, are alleged to be a part of a very sordid and illegal operation that steals human remains that were donated to a medical school. Harvard Medical School, actually. And she's alleged to have a skull and some human skin in some of her dolls. The morgue manager was running this black market operation to sell parts before they were cremated and returned to the family. And the story is still continuing to unfold.
A mysterious illness has emerged in Uganda that causes uncontrollable body tremors. Since its first reported case in early 2023, Dinga Dinga, which roughly translates to shaking like dancing, has puzzled health officials, and the exact cause remains undetermined. It primarily seems to be affecting women and girls. Roughly 300 cases have been documented, all of which are confined to Uganda's Bundibugyo district, and the symptoms include uncontrollable shaking, fever and fatigue, and mobility issues due to the severity of the shaking. Fortunately, no fatalities have occurred, and the illness appears to be treatable with antibiotics, leading to a recovery within a week. There has, however, been a lot of comparisons to the dancing plagues of 1518 in France. During that well-documented historical event, people started dancing uncontrollably for days, some sometimes leading to exhaustion-related deaths. And while experts have never fully confirmed the cause of the dancing plague, there are a number of key differences to Dinga Dinga, leading them to believe that, don't worry, they're not the same thing.
This woman was buried alive by her husband. This happened in Washington when 42-year-old young Anne called police using her Apple Watch after her husband beat her and duct taped her mouth. During the 911 call, Young is heard screaming before her husband broke her Apple Watch, threw her in his van, and drove off. Video surveillance captured Che Ann driving out of the garage at the same time that police arrived to the home. Che Ann took his wife to a wooded area, stabbed her in the chest, and buried her alive in a shallow grave. She had a very hard time breathing when she was in there, but she was able to finally get out several hours later and ran to the nearest home and asked for help. It was said that their fight started because they were talking about divorce and finances. Che Ann was charged with attempted first-degree murder, domestic violence, and kidnapping.
Here are some signs that you or a friend could possibly be a serial killer. And this is like a real problem too. Like, apparently in our lifetimes, we're going to walk past 16 murderers. And apparently if you live in the city, that almost triples. Make sure to stay till the end too, because I'm going to tell you which zodiac sign is #1 in serial killing. The first one is typically a serial killer is very, very antisocial. They don't like being the center of attention because if you're the center of attention, you have more eyes on you, which means that you can't really do your murders. The second one is a lot of them are obsessed with fire. That's because when somebody lights something on fire, they have complete control of what this flame is doing. The third one is their IQ level. Some of the most famous serial killers that we know in history are some of the smartest people ever. But even your disorganized serial killers are typically above normal intelligence. And the #1 zodiac sign for serial killers is a Pisces. Being a Pisces says you have a very, very big heart, but you also know how to manipulate it. Apparently, if you guys go through something traumatic, you can handle a lot of the pain, but you dish out 100 times more than you got.
Child marriage used to be legal in America, and the story of this marriage is one of the most disturbing things I've ever read about. This is 9-year-old Eunice Winstead, and this is her legal husband at the time, Charlie Johns. So on January 19th, 1937, Eunice, who was 9 years old at the time, left her mother's house. On that morning, she told her parents that she was going out to buy herself a new doll. But instead, the 9-year-old was headed to the courthouse to meet her 22-year-old future husband, Charlie Johns. So at the time of this affair, there was no age limit on marriage in Tennessee. I mean, technically, someone could have married an adult and a baby if they paid off the minister and got everything to go through properly. And so on that day, 22-year-old Charlie offered a local Baptist preacher named Walter $1, which equates to around $21 today. And the preacher accepted the offer, came into the church, and married the 9-year-old to the 22-year-old. I mean, obviously, words cannot possibly describe how disturbing images like these are. Now, at first, both Charlie and Eunice's parents disapproved of the marriage, but after some thought, they eventually approved the marriage, and they just allowed them to live together and be married. Now, sadly, Eunice dropped out of school at the age of 9 after her husband, Charlie, pulled her out, and she began giving birth to their children at age 15. They'd eventually have 8 children together. I just cannot believe that shit like this used to happen in America. Comment your thoughts on this below.
You ever go to an NBA game and you can't help but think, this is your life. How do you miss shots ever? Same thing here, like, respectfully, I don't know. I guess I just expected a walking sand ship to be better than this. Act like you've been here before. Well, actually, funny thing about that. Tell camels to go back to where they came from, and after they spit on your entire lineage, they'll start showing up in America. Yeah, camels originated in North America. The OG hump jockey's more native to Texas than the Sahara. There's even a story about a demonic man-eating camel terrorizing 1800s Arizona, but that's for another video. Yeah, the first camels were seasoned by snow from the Arctic, not sand. Something else you might not know, the laugh track of Lion King actually used to run through Eurasia during the Ice Age, which means they have a whole winter coat at the ready if it ever gets cold enough. You ever seen a fluffy hyena? Just know, when you're being mean to the hyens, you're hating on him too. Their biggest ops have a winter fit too, although to be fair, these are Asian lions. I don't know what it is. There's just something really cozy about this picture. Okay, last one. Cheetahs are fast. Did you know that? Well, there used to be an American cheetah, and they're long gone, but the evidence is still there if you look close enough. This is a pronghorn. They're like the forgotten little brother of giraffes, and yes, they're related. They're also the second fastest mammals alive, because the cats might have stopped chasing them, but the prongs are still running. The more you know. I ain't gonna lie, this video was just an excuse to show the fluffy hyena, and I'm not about to apologize for it.
My biggest fear was having an ugly baby. Now look what the fuck I got. Look at him. He is so funny looking.
How dare you say something like this about your own child? To all the moms watching this, do you think this is normal? Now, I'm not married, I don't have kids, but this is messed up. You've been carrying this child for 9 months. This child is your own skin, and you go and call him ugly publicly online. To me, miss, your child looks adorable. There are women out there that gave birth to babies missing arms and legs, and they were never treated differently than other kids. These kids eventually grow up winning golden medals in Special Olympics. But the thing is, there's nothing wrong with your child, miss. What a shame. What a shame.
This is why you should always keep pictures of your parents. A little girl named Olivia who lived a very quiet life decided to check her homework assignments that were posted online. The teacher posted that they needed to write down their favorite memory with their family as well as bring a photograph. Olivia then writes about how her and her mom play dolls every night in the basement before bed and that she has a lot of fun doing so. She finishes her paragraph and then looks in her dad's drawer for a photograph of mom. She only found pictures of her mom from high school but decided to use it anyway. Olivia goes to bed and wakes up the next morning. Once she arrives at school, the teacher then says, let's start presenting our project. Then the teacher called Olivia's name to present. Olivia then begins to read about how her and her mom play dolls every night and then pulls out the photograph. As soon as Olivia pulled out the photograph, her teacher's face goes numb. She then asks Olivia if she can take a closer look at the photograph. She then recognized her mom as one of her previous students. Then the teacher asks, where did you get this photo? Olivia says, my dad keeps them in his drawer. The teacher, shocked, sits down Olivia and pulls out an old newspaper. The newspaper headline, local high school teen murdered, boyfriend gone missing. The teacher then looks at Olivia and says, your mom has been dead for 14 years.
This is the creepy story of 23-year-old Fan Man Lee and how her head was found in a Hello Kitty doll. Fan Man Lee struggled with addiction for a very long time, and in 1997, she met 34-year-old Chan Man Lok, who was a drug dealer and a pimp. For that year, Fan Man Lee became desperate for money and drugs, so she stole $4,000 from Chan Man Lok. When he noticed that the money was missing, he asked his two friends to kidnap Fan Man Yi. Originally, his plan was to force Fan Man Yi into prostitution so she can pay him back, but his plan got out of hand and he did something much worse. Chan Man Lok, his friends, and his girlfriend began torturing Fan Man Yi. They tied her up and beat her, burned her, sexually assaulted her, and forced her to eat human feces. Eventually, Fan Man Yi passed away, so they cut her body into pieces, boiled it, and then fed some of the remaining pieces to the dogs. This is where things get super creepy. The three men decided to stuff Fan Man Yi's head into a Hello Kitty doll. And get this, the crime was eventually reported by Chan Man Lok's girlfriend. She basically told on herself because she claimed to be haunted by the ghost of a dead woman. She said that this ghost would not stop tormenting her until she confessed to the murder. It's been said that the building where Fan Man Yi passed away has been haunted for a very long time. People claim to see the figure of a woman walking in the hallways and also claim to hear the cries of a woman.
These are the craziest discoveries we made in 2024. Starting in England, where amateur archaeologists unearthed one of the largest Roman dodecahedrons ever found. Till this day, though, what they were used for still remains a mystery. In Iran, they discovered the world's oldest lipstick, dating back 4,000 years. An Italian junk dealer discovered that the old painting he had hung up at his family-owned restaurant was actually an original Picasso, now worth over $6.6 million. In Botswana, the world's second largest diamond ever was unearthed, and we were gifted with this clip.
What
Back to Earth, a scientific expedition in Peru discovered 27 new species, including an amphibious mouse and a blob-headed fish. Scientists discovered an association between low testosterone and high anxiety. Japan discovered the skeleton panda sea squirt, which, for such a random name, is somehow the perfect description. And how could we forget? The evolution of life on Earth and even space was thrown into question after the discovery of dark oxygen on the floor of the Pacific Ocean.
What the did I just watch? I don't know how I'm going to sleep after watching this documentary. This documentary is about people who die and have no next of kin and how the coroner deals with them. And fair warning, they show everything in this documentary. From the beginning, I was not expecting it, and it literally shows a guy on the toilet. If you love documentaries, make sure to hit follow because I post daily and you'll never miss out on what to watch. This whole film is haunting, unnerving, heartbreaking. The amount of people that just pass away without any loved ones around them are just left for the city to deal with, and they have to try to find somebody to claim them is so heartbreaking. This made me feel like I really need to have children so that this doesn't happen to me. And it's so crazy to see the people who do this as a job. I'm sitting there with my jaw on the floor and these people are just wrapping them up and tossing them down the hallway. I guess you get used to seeing it, but it's just so astonishing. Typically I show the trailer in the background when I make videos, but I can't even play the trailer in this because I would have to censor the whole thing. I'm sure some of you do this as a job and I would love to hear about it in the comments.
Have you guys seen this yet? Ken Urker posted this photo onto his Instagram account about an hour ago showing that he and Gypsy Rose have had the baby. His caption says, "Welcoming 2025 with the greatest gift of all," with a baby emoji. They've named the baby Aurora Reina Urker, and a lot of people were thinking that the name Aurora came from the Princess Sleeping Beauty. Because, you know, when she was growing up, she was oftentimes dressed as a Disney princess and made frequent trips to Walt Disney World. And she loved Disney princesses. And then other people were thinking they chose that name after Christie's dog, Aurora Grace. But she says here, back whenever Ken and I were together 7 years ago, both of us have a fascination with the Northern Lights, and the proper term is the Aurora Borealis. I think it was maybe in 2018, we wrote each other's future kid's name on pieces of paper, and Aurora is what we both picked without even knowing each other was picking it. She said they held on to that name and that memory even after she and Urker split and she married Ryan Anderson. When we had broken up, it was like, oh, Aurora is never going to be born. A lot of people think the origin is one thing, but they don't know that little story. So congratulations to Gypsy Rose and Ken, and let's all hope and pray she doesn't turn out to be her mother.
Who is Vex Boltz and why are people planning to mass unfollow him? Vex Boltz is a content creator known for his Fortnite videos, including one that went viral for his Let Him Cook audio. Let him cook! But now many TikTokers are vowing to leave Vex Boltz in 2024, joining a trend that asks users to unfollow him today before we ring in the new year. Comment sections have been flooded with calls to unfollow Vex Boltz, who has now surpassed 8 million followers, many of whom only followed him to participate in the mass unfollowing. Some claim they're unfollowing the creator because his content is cringeworthy, but others are simply joining in on the trend for fun. So will you be participating?
Scary Facts That Will Give You Nightmares Part 2. The chainsaw was originally invented by two surgeons from Scotland to help assist in childbirth. A surgical procedure known as tooth in the eye surgery was made popular in the 1960s. Surgeons would put a tooth in a blind person's eye in order to restore their sight. This procedure works and is still being done in some cases today. And lastly, hundreds of people die every year from being strangled by their own bed sheets.
She was killed by her own people. This is what happened to 30-year-old Annie Mae Aquash. Annie Mae was born on March 27, 1945 and was born into the Mikwok First Nation. Annie Mae was a part of the American Indian movement, and she was just extremely passionate about human rights and the preservation of tribal communities. She was a mother of two, so she was fighting for her children's safety and future. Throughout her time with the American Indian movement, she was arrested on federal weapons-related charges, but she was quickly released. She was arrested for a second time in November of 1975. However, she was released just 10 days later on November 25th. Due to how quickly she was released, some members of the American Indian movement started to believe that maybe she was working as an informant for the FBI, and that's why she was released so quickly. The last time anyone saw Annie Mae was in the middle of December, and then just 2 months later, on February 24th, 1976, a farmer in South Dakota stumbled upon a frozen, badly decomposed body. His farm was located along the Pine Ridge Indian Reservation, and this corpse was wearing blue jeans, a maroon jacket, and they were laying with their knees pushed up all the way to their chest. Police were called to the scene, and a coroner determined that this was a woman and that they had been dead for more than 2 months. Due to the condition of the body, it took a little bit over a week for police to identify this corpse as 30-year-old Annie Mae Aquash. Initially, they believed that she died of exposure, that she froze to death. They buried her, and that was that. When her family and friends heard the news about her death, they were just completely shocked. They were trying to figure out what had happened since the last time she was seen in December to when her body was found in February. I mean, what happened in those 2 months? They just had a gut feeling that something more had happened. They requested a second autopsy. They exhumed her body, and this new autopsy revealed that Annie Mae had a gunshot wound to the back of her head. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't the consequence of exposure. Annie Mae was murdered. Her friends and family initially believed that maybe the FBI had done this to silence her. However, it was later revealed that no, the FBI didn't do this. Instead, she was kidnapped, R-worded, and unalived on December 12, 1975 by 3 members of the American Indian movement. Her family just couldn't believe that she was betrayed by those she trusted and by people she believed had her back. As of today, someone has been convicted for the murder of Annie Mae and has been sentenced to life in prison, but were more people involved? Her family believes that maybe higher level officials at the American Indian movement could have ordered her death because they truly believed that she was an FBI informant. It's been nearly 30 years since Annie Mae, a mother, a sister, a beloved friend, a human being, was killed. To hear more about what happened to Annie Mae, make sure to watch Vow of Silence on Hulu to uncover the truth, and let me know what you guys think about this down below.
This is a true horrifying story of what Jahannam really is. Jahannam is hellfire. It is a place of eternal punishment. It is believed amongst all religions. In some religions, like Christianity, hell is a spiritual dimension, so it's only the souls that are tortured in hell. But that's not really the case. Hellfire is a physical place. It does exist. It is a world, just like any other world. It has valleys, mountains, and canyons. But it's not only a world. This thing breathes, it roars, it speaks. Hellfire is a beast. Hellfire eats sinners for a living. The more you feed it, the hungrier it gets. It is so big, it is chained by 70,000 chains, and on each chain, there are 70,000 angels pulling it. I'm talking about 4.9 billion angels. Do you know how big an angel can be based on Islamic narrations? An angel can tip over a country with the tip of one of its wings. Imagine the size of an angel. Now imagine 4.9 billion of them just struggling to hold down hellfire. Hell has 7 gates, and the guardian angel of hellfire is Malik. Malik is the only angel that never smiled. Let me tell you how terrifying this place is. In hellfire, there are clouds of acid. People that enter are given clothing made from fire. The temperature in there are millions of kelvins. Nothing compared to the sun. People in hellfire are privileged in size. God makes them so big. One of their tooth will be the size of Mountain Uhud. Why are they so big, you ask? So they burn slower. You will hear disturbing sounds of screams from people in there. They will beg for food and water, and they will be told to go down to the bottom of hell to find the tree of Zaqum. Zaqum is a fruit made in hellfire. It is so hot, one narration says, if this fruit accidentally dropped on earth, it will burn down the whole globe. They will be given boiling water to drink. The water will be so hot, their faces would melt before they drink it. And if you decide not to drink nor eat, they will force feed you till you have a full stomach. Hellfire is also a place of ambush. There are other creatures in there that will attack you. I'll leave the rest for Mu'min Abu Mecca to explain. I'm not sure how other religions describe it, but in Islam, this is hellfire. And no one can sacrifice themselves for your sins.